Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, people have seen some photos of the new Snow White and they're not happy. And I don't know what they're more upset about, the actress or the dress. I don't know what they hate more. Um, but it's very strange. There's a lot of controversy around this Disney live action Snow White. It started off with Peter Dinklage. Now, I didn't do a video about that or talk about that because I really don't know anything about dwarfism. I haven't actually seen Snow White. I read the storybook. I had the little golden books of some of the Disney stories when I was a kid, but I didn't really watch Disney films. I have all of them on DVD. I've got a whole stack of them I've got to watch, but I just haven't done it. So I wasn't really familiar with the actual representation of the depiction of the dwarves in the film, because I sort of thought, why is he upset? This is an opportunity for seven people with dwarfism to work in a big major motion picture. Why would he want us like take that away from them? Because he was basically saying they shouldn't be in the film, and there were people with dwarfism saying that, and I was like, I don't understand. And then I sort of have heard or realised that apparently the way they were depicted wasn't positive. They were depicted as being of lesser intelligence than Snow White, and she treated them like children, and with names like Dopey and Sleepy and that I can sort of understand. He talked about them living in a cave, and I'm like, well, I know they lived in a cabin and they just walked to the cave, that's where they worked, hi ho, hi ho. But I didn't really understand why he was upset. So there was a whole drama about that. And at some point there was a rumour that they were going to use magical creatures instead of actually using dwarves. They said they had been speaking to people from the dwarfism community, and maybe they weren't going to ever depict them like they were depicted in the original cartoon. So maybe he was totally wrong and just jumping, on assumptions. Because he was upset because he said, why would they be progressive in one way with the casting but not be progressive with the dwarves? And I'm like, but you don't actually know how they were going to depict them. So I just didn't touch that one. Now, the casting itself, being a very white person myself, people of colour may not realise how much crap you get as a pale white person. I'm constantly being told I look sick. I look like I've got cancer. People ask me, are you sick? Do you have cancer? I've been told that I need to burn my skin, and go out in the sun and burn my skin and get a tan. So I damage my skin permanently so I look darker. There's something wrong with being pale. I can't say white because that's a race thing. I'm talking literally like pale. It's like, so Snow White and Morticia was sort of my representation. They were like my girls. It's like, it's just weird, especially on the gay scene, just the body beautiful. In Australia, the idea of the bronze blonde Aussie, which I never was, is just really powerful. And I always was made to feel less than because of that. And even now when I go to like the pool parties and the underwear parties and stuff like that on the gay scene, now I haven't done it for 2 years because of what, I was always looked at like there's something wrong with you. And whenever I'd see another really pale person, I'd like gravitate towards them, like, oh, I'm not the only one here that isn't ever fake tanned or burned for an inch of my life. Because I put the sunscreen on and I go and I'm white as a ghost, and I wear contrasting colours that look good on white, like fluoro pink or something like that, like really, either way. There's a lot of discrimination against people who are pale because there's this idea that there's something wrong with that you're sick or something. And I don't know if a lot of people realise that, because you're still white, so you have all the white privilege, but it's weird. So I always felt that there were some characters who were so traditionally, literally white that they would never sort of be race swapped. It never occurred to me that Snow White would be portrayed by someone that wasn't like literally white. So when they announced a Latina actress, I was like, okay, she's literally the fairest of them all. She's literally as white as snow. Can't we keep her? Like diversity means everyone. So can't we have like a couple of traditionally untouchable white characters? Like Morticia Adams would be another one that I would think could never be recast as anyone of colour. Like you can recast everyone else, I don't care. It's just some characters are specifically literally white, and white, really pale people, we want representation too. So can't we keep a couple of them? So I was kind of annoyed by it, but not really annoyed because I'm not really attached to Snow White. If they'd recast Morticia, I would have been really upset. They did recast Wednesday, and I was like at first, what the hell? But then I sort of realised, okay, even though she was depicted as a literal copy of Morticia, and she was literally white in the comics. Like they didn't color her in like the other characters had skin color. Her and Morticia were white, sometimes grey, literally grey accents on white. But she technically is part Latin because Gomez is part Latin, and she's, that's her dad. So she's a quarter or an eighth Latin. I was going to say Latina, Latin. So I sort of say, okay, I get how they're doing that, but it doesn't look right because she was depicted as like ghostly white. So, but technically she was biracial, so they can get away with that. But Morticia, no. Snow White, no. I'm like, no. We have to keep a couple of traditionally white, pale characters for pale white people to relate to. We need our representations. We need some to remain. So I didn't really like that. And now we have the dress. Now the dress, the original dress was basic because it was a cartoon. They can't be drawing in a lot of detail. So it had a plain yellow dress with a dark bodice and these lighter blue sort of puffy sort of, I don't know what they're called, shoulders parts, and with a little yellow cuff and a little white collar, which actually does actually show the little bit of skin colour the character does have. She's not literally white in the cartoons, like Morticia. But yeah, there's a lot of cosplay that looks better. They have a little bit of extra detail, but not a lot, so it still looks the same, but not as plain. Because at first I thought the problem was they literally just replicated the animated dress, but they've actually given it more detail and changed it, but they haven't managed to improve it at all. The yellow is too bright, but whether that would actually photograph that way and be depicted on screen is another thing. But the bodice is all the same colour with almost the same blue with the shoulders and everything. They've given her sleeves and they've taken out the little yellow cuffs, which makes it look same. And even though there's like a separate panel down the front with where the bodice is, and she doesn't have a lot to work with there, so it's just like a flat line of blue and then the slightly darker blue on the outside, but it's not enough contrast. It just looks like bad cosplay. It looks cheap. It looks like something you could buy. Aside from the fact it's got a lace detailing, once you get far enough away that you don't see that, it just looks like cheap cosplay. It looks like something you would buy for like $20 at a $2 shop, or $10 at a $2 shop. I haven't really bought any fairy tale, dress costume sort of things. So, yeah. Doesn't look good. I understand why people are disappointed because they were expecting something big and extravagant and beautiful, and like some of the other dresses in some of the other films, like the Cinderella dress was amazing in live action. So Disney's getting a lot of criticism for this film. Apparently there's also a fire on set or something, so it does seem like this film is kind of cursed, and I'm kind of sensing doom. So yeah, the dwarf issue, how they're dealing with that. They say they're speaking to people in the community and they're going to represent them well. And yes, I wouldn't want them to eliminate them from the film and have 7 actors with dwarfism miss out on opportunities to work in a mainstream film. So yeah, there's that. But the depiction of her, I feel like she's one of the few characters that should be allowed to remain white, and we can recast like everyone else for diversity, because that is what the rest of the world looks like. But we do have a few white people. Like I'm white. Like, why can't I have someone on screen that looks like me? At least one. Because all the white people, they're all nice, tanned, healthy looking. I just did it to myself. Healthy looking white people. Yeah, so see how badly ingrained it is in you, this discrimination, and this, that I even in that moment was referring to people with more skin colour than me as being healthy, as in I'm sick or something. So it's just, it's actually an issue no one ever talks about because of white supremacy and white privilege, and that no one wants to say anything about pale people not being represented or being discriminated against, and having negative stereotypes of being sick and or evil or whatever. Because yeah, it's a bit messy, and I'm just sort of surprised, and I'm disappointed by the dress. Like I've on my thumbnail I've got up a fairly nice cosplay dress someone did, and it doesn't have a lot of detail and not a lot of difference, but it looks a lot better than what is in the film. And there's quite a few I found pictures of that looked so much better than what was in the film, and they weren't, these weren't like big budget studios that are making these. These are just regular people and dressmakers. Even just maybe sticking more to the actual dresses of the time of the 1800s. I think the original Grimm's fairy tale was from 1812 or something. And she is German, so she's supposed to be white, and she's in that era. So I just historically, literally, I think she should be white. She'd be one of the few characters that are allowed to remain white. So that bothers me. The dress looks cheap, and the dwarfism. I don't know what to make of the dwarfism issue, but it just looks like this film is going to be problematic on many levels for many people for many different reasons, and it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. I guess I'll watch it. I tried to watch Beauty and the Beast. It's the only film in my life I ever walked out on. Once the teacups and kettles started singing the live action version, because I thought that they wouldn't sort of do that, I was just like, no. King Kong is on in the other cinema in like 10 minutes. I'm just going to walk into that and watch that and consider that I paid for one movie. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks. Bye.